let me start in saying, Steve, I like your background. What is that?
I like it too. So that's Mary's artwork. At the last couple of concerts here in the U.S., they've had merchandise for sale, and it's like a scarf material. And I believe that Mary created something like 100 different paintings and prints
Wow.
for the book that Angelina wrote at age 9. And they used about 30 of them, and some of those you might recognize behind me. But I think what is on this scarf, it's like 4 feet by 4 feet wide,
Wow.
is most or all of the paintings that Mary created.
Hmm.
Wow. That's
Cool.
amazing. Okay, Steve, let me kick things off formally and say, Stephen, welcome back. It's nice to see you again. You were on our podcast about 12 months ago. You have been such a busy little beaver, and your list of achievements and accomplishments and involvements is so long that we really needed to get you back straight away. And you wrote us a long, long email about everything you've been up to 12 months. And there I was thinking we wouldn't have enough material to fill our podcast, but we could probably fill two or three podcasts.
Yeah, so this is part one of three parts.
As I said the last time, I'm just really honored to be here and to be talking to you guys and to appear on your podcast. And just like a year ago, I'm still just inspired by Angelina to do these various sort of creative pursuits and a number of them involving other fans. I call them like fan engagement projects. And such a joy to be a fan of Angelina and to learn about her and enjoy her phenomenal talent and her music, but also to get to make wonderful new friendships, be part of this awesome community. So many talented people out there doing amazing things for Angelina, like the two of you and so many others. There's just been a huge joy for me.
Yeah. Do you think there is something special about the community with Angelina that makes people do these kind of, I wouldn't call them strange, but very devoted, creative things? What is it about this whole
Yeah.
situation that encourages people to do these things?
Yeah. I suspect there are other devoted fan bases that have a few crazy fans like us that do crazy stuff for their artists. But I also think it's just a matter of Angelina, her phenomenal talent, her artistry, her character, her family, the love she shows to us, the love we have for her and our music. You guys have spent 4 years trying to explain what she does to us. I can't fully explain it, but it's something along those lines.
Maybe that she herself, Angelina, is so creative, and the whole family. Mary is also a very creative person, that it rubs off on us.
I'm sure that's it. And their creativity and the beauty of their character, and the love that they've poured into Angelina and that they show for other people. Mary's artwork, it's all about people. If you look at her artwork, and I think you've talked about this, it's very people oriented. Even her TikToks, very often it was just like people on the street. I think she's just fascinated by people. And that's rubbed off on Angelina too.
Maybe this podcast, Steve, can just be where we look at the scarf behind you and we look at all of the paintings for an hour
Yeah, we could do that easily.
of all the busy, crazy, active, creative things that you've done in the last year. Which do you think is the most creative and most crazy?
The one that I feel, actually, I'd answer a little bit different question. There's one that I feel is the most meaningful. So the Vegas concert was about a year ago, and she debuted the song Princess of Ruins. That was about her experience giving away her shoes to the girl that she met in the Middle East. Beautiful song. It really captured the story and the essence of it. And so within a week or two, Angels were talking about the song and trying to understand the lyrics. The recordings weren't perfectly clear. But within a week or two, I heard from John Wickman, who's an angel, lives in the Midwest. And he said, we need to do something in response and on behalf of Angelina that relates to this story. And so we went back and forth. And he said, at one point, he used the phrase, angels, take off your shoes. And then I said, what about we go barefoot for a day? And it evolved from there to what we ended up calling the Go Barefoot for Princess Challenge. So we ended up doing that through the Labors of Love for AJ team, which was myself and Barry Souter and Elise McElveen. And the idea was we picked a day, June 1st of last year, and June 1st is Children's Day in many countries. So it seemed like a good date to pick to do something like this. And the challenge was do something for an hour barefoot. That didn't have to be a charitable activity, but that was one of the things we encouraged was find some charitable activity you might be able to do, but do it barefoot. And one of the ways that we're encouraged to be empathetic is to put yourself in the shoes of others. But in this case, Angelina took off her shoes for others. And so maybe we could do the same to show empathy for others. So it was partly that, ideally, charitable activity. But even if not, just do something barefoot for a day, maybe something that's difficult that you wouldn't normally do barefoot. And so we got a bunch of people participating. We also asked them to take video and photos of themselves doing whatever it was. I got my son John involved, who's very artistic, and he designed temporary tattoos that we would put on our feet. A couple of tattoos that we ended up using and sent to everybody. And so we got a bunch of video and a bunch of photos and a bunch of wonderful participation. And ever since then, we've been working on a documentary, Barry and I. We're getting there, but it's taking some time. Barry's amazing. He's got a video background. He worked in television. And so he's really the idea person. And I love getting these projects going and the brainstorming part of things and recruiting people to take part. And Barry really is the expert in the video part, telling a story visually. I just don't think that way, but he does. And so he's great to work with. So that's what we're doing. We're working on telling the story visually of what we did that day on June 1st. And I'm excited. I'd venture to say how far we are, 75, 80%. We've done some interviews with people to say, what did this mean to you? And why did you do what you did? So I'm hoping we can get that out in a couple of months.
Cool.
So, Steve, would you say like 70% of your waking life is devoted to Angelina Jordan?
I do have a day job, but fortunately, things slowed down during the pandemic to the point that I have the time to devote to Angelina that I'd like to do. It's a nice balance right now, actually. I have time to do the fun things for Angelina that I just have a passion for.
It's sort of like self-renewing. You invest in time, but then something happens internally and you feel so good. And it's just its own momentum being involved in the Angelina Jordan community. And I think a lot of the creativity has to do with the demographics, the fact that most of her fans are long in the tooth and getting on in years. It means, A, they realize that she's very, very special. And also, because they realize that she's super creative, it triggers some type of creativity in them. They think, right, if she can do that, then let me look and see what I can do, which is really special and unique.
Sure.
How likely was it before you started listening to Angelina that you would go about doing these stuff?
Yeah, completely unlikely, unheard of, undreamed of. I'm sure you two are the same, right? Yeah.
Yes. It's great fun in itself, but there is some kind of calling behind it that really is something I've never experienced in my life. I never had that, doing something with a purpose in that way.
Yeah. Now, there's something kind of spiritual about her and about the love that flows through her. And an analogy I make is to church attendance. People attend church for a bunch of reasons. One is the worship, of course, but others, there's a social aspect. There's a common interest and a belief. And I think there's some overlap there with what we do as a fan base, and attending concerts is similar. And music, too. Music is a big part of religious worship. So it just feels like there are definitely parallels between our experience with Angelina and with her music and spiritual practice.
Yeah, because 4.5 years ago, I was just on YouTube surfing and browsing, and in a billion years, it would never occur to me that I would come across a video that would profoundly change my life.
Yeah.
It's just not something on radar. You think if you're 20 years old, you can be in a club and you can meet someone who can eventually be your wife or husband, and that could change your life. But you don't think just going on YouTube, you can have a moment that changes your life. In a way, for some people, that's what religion does. Religion also changes people's life, and you have to be a little bit open to have access to change.
Sometimes I wonder, are there other types of artists that people have had this experience with? And that I'm not so sure about. Like a painter or a visual artist, someone's life been changed because they came across a Picasso that they felt profoundly connected to.
I think music is more visceral than almost
Yeah.
any other art because I think it's closer to a primal emotion when you sing or even just non-vocal music. Is something about music which is raw and basic and which resonates a rhythm in the soul.
The impact of listening to her voice that I've never heard in any other artist's voices. Something that moves me deeply in a way that makes me feel safe or comforted. And in that moment when I heard her first time, and this was during the pandemic, I sort of needed that kind of feeling inside. And the miraculous thing about it is that it gets through on a small screen and
Yeah,
with lousy speakers.
that's true.
Isn't that amazing that it can really
Yeah.
transmit that kind of feeling?
Yeah.
You have been to a lot of concerts. That must be a whole different level.
You saw her both in Norway, right, in
Yeah.
2022, and so you know that it's even more amazing live to hear her than through electronics. And it's amazing to me also that it's not just a couple of songs. There's other artists that I've loved but there's been like 3 or 4 songs that I really love about them, and the rest are just okay. But it's dozens of songs that just are so moving, and she just has a gift for conveying emotion that I just haven't experienced with any other musician or group.
When you listen to Angelina, first of all, because of her runs and vibrato, it's like every word is layered, but at the same time, when you hear it, you think, right, how does she do that? Vocally and physically, how does she do that? But also at the same time, you think, there's no other way that can be improved. That's like the ultimate best way you can sing that song.
Yeah, it very often is. I think there's a single best way to perform it that's out there in the universe. And Angelina somehow can reach that and find it and then convey it better than anybody else.
So did you meet her at any of those concerts you've been to?
Yeah, I've been so lucky to meet her. After Portsmouth, we waited around for about an hour and caught her and Sarah coming out the side door. So a few of us walked down and talked to them briefly. And then at Las Vegas, there were some meet and greets. There was one before, one after. We got to go up and get a picture taken with her and say a few words. So those are always precious moments. And I typically have about 10 questions or things I'd like to discuss with her. And I have to really think hard. If I think I might meet her or talk to Sarah or Mary, I really think hard about okay, what's the 1 or 2 things I'd like to ask each of them?
Well, I think Pontus's main question is, does she still go to that special place when she sings?
I think she does.
Yeah, I think she does too.
And maybe that place is where she can harvest those ultimate versions of whatever it is she's trying to convey.
We always talk about her eyes. So sometimes, and I was just watching recently the 10-year-old live version of Feeling Good. Her eyes sort of roll back in her head a couple of times. And I think that's when she's going to the special place. And then even the most recent concert at the Christmas, there was 1 or 2 songs where her eyes were closed for 50, 60% of the song.
Pontus and I are very envious of you, Steve, because you were in the line or the queue at the meet and greet, and Sarah came along and plucked you out of the crowd. So Pontus and I don't think we would be recognized. Pontus and I consider what we do to be completely anonymous.
I think they observe more than we realize.
Yeah.
They occasionally will see them. Mary will post something where there's a TV and they're watching a reactor. I know Angelina noticed Pontus is introducing his class to Bad Valentine
Yeah.
because she reposted that, which is a very, very, very rare honor on TikTok for her to repost something a fan created video. So before the Las Vegas concert, Sarah came out and they knew about the projects that I've been involved in and worked with others on in Portsmouth. And so she came out and said, would you be willing to be interviewed for Norwegian TV? And so at first she thanked me for everything I've been doing. It's like, wow. And gave me a hug. And then, would you be willing to be interviewed for Norwegian TV? So, okay. So I go into the room where Angelina was having the meet and greet, and there's a Scandinavian couple, and she's got a microphone and he's got a camera. And they asked me some questions. They noticed my shirt, which was the one my son designed, the Abbey Road and influences of Angelina. And so I described the shirt, and then they asked me some more questions, and the rest of it was a blur. I don't even remember what I said. And I asked a couple Norwegian fans for a few weeks afterwards, did anything get aired on Norwegian TV? No. So I thought, okay, maybe it just didn't happen, or it was a cutting room floor kind of thing. And then about a month after the concert, Angelina announced, hey, tomorrow a documentary is coming out called 10 Years in the Making. And so they ended up using that footage along with showing some other fans in the middle of the documentary.
Of course, Abbey Road from the Beatles. So we have Billie Holiday, her main influence, Elvis, Angelina in the third position. Paul McCartney was barefoot in the Abbey Road crossing, and then Grandma Mary behind.
Just being thanked by Sarah, that was enough for me. Being in the documentary was just icing on the cake. So it was just an amazing experience.
The only hint that Pontus and I have that we have reached anyone is that there was a TikTok clip from our podcast with Robert DeMartin that Mary reposted. And it's a very unusual choice on her part because Robert is sitting there and he's saying, okay, let me tell you the 4 different ways you can tell that you love Angelina. And he gives the different circumstances and conditions of how you can tell if you really, really love Angelina. And Mary reposted that.
I came up with 4 questions I want to share with you guys. How much do you care for Angelina? In other words, do you just appreciate her singing? Or do you think there's something more to it? So here are the 4 questions. Do you get emotional when she sings for you? I always like to use the term for you, not to you, because I think she sings for us. Number 2, does the beauty of her character literally make you feel that you must act in a manner that she would be proud of you? Number 3, do you pray for her well-being? And the 4th question is, will she always be in your heart? Well, I think if you answer yes to all 4 of those questions, it's a closed case. You love Angelina, right?
They've got to be curious about what Angelina's fans are saying and the impact that they have on her. And your podcasts are one of the best ways to learn that.
Well, for the sake of Patrick Ercolini, who was our guest last week, I hope they do watch it, and I hope they have him back because he was a bit special with what he does.
Yeah, he was the sound engineer on the last concert and did a really great job of it.
And I'll personally vouch for that. The sound at this Christmas concert was the best that I've heard as far as live performance.
Were you one of the attendants that went up to Patrick and said, "You better do good now" with her voice?
That wasn't me, but I would have if I had thought of it.
And Steve, you're like an Andy Schnell type of character. You work very quietly behind the scenes, where you buy a lot of reactors a coffee in order for them to listen to an Angelina Jordan video.
Steve, one of our Thronely members and supporters, who is an angel, has recommended that we check out a live version of this song.
Yeah, I love doing that, especially with reactors that haven't listened to her yet. And so introducing her to someone new, one of the ones that went really well was with the two guys, the reaction channel is called Throga Reacts. Two guys, one is a vocal coach, one is
Being a songwriter.
songwriter. Right, exactly. So I knew they'd be really knowledgeable. And they ended up doing two versions of Suspicious Minds, one the studio, one live, as their first reaction. And then they've done a bunch since, including a 90-minute reaction to a bunch of her songs. I think they were as bowled over as the rest of us.
That is one of the things that we as fans think about daily. How can we spread the word about here's this great artist you shouldn't miss out on? And you have done several of those things along those lines.
Well, lately, Toby Gad emailed a few angels and basically asked us to request Bad Valentine to be played on the radio in the lead up to Valentine's Day, which is tomorrow as we're recording this. And so I've gotten involved in helping to get that going and doing a little bit of coordination and organizing. At first, Toby had done about 5 interviews with a bunch of big commercial US FM stations trying to get Bad Valentine played. And so then he said, why don't you guys request the song? And so we started doing that. I think we overwhelmed these 5 stations with requests. And so he said, wait, within a couple of days, okay, no, let's shift focus to college radio stations. So they sent us a list of over 300 college radio stations in the US and had communicate ways to contact the stations. And they also asked that we coordinated it so that we're not inundating 1 or 2 stations with 10 requests a day. So we've attempted to do that. But at least a couple dozen angels have gotten very involved. We've contacted over 100 of these college radio stations. Even fans from overseas, like Pontus, have been helping out from across the pond.
I used to live in the States. Did you know that?
I didn't. I knew Alan did.
Yeah, I lived 2 years in the States. So I contacted Philadelphia stations.
Yeah, we've had some early successes, gotten on 4 or 5 college stations so far. And I'm really hopeful tomorrow, Valentine's Day, there's a bunch more. There's one feedback I saw where a DJ said is their new favorite singer and then showed it to the rest of the station. And they all couldn't believe they never heard of her. So it's not going to make a huge impact, and radio is not as important as it used to be. But I love it because it's something we all can do.
Yeah.
Many people are getting involved, and then it's just like ripples in a pond. You throw a little pebble, but the ripples go out. And you never know, some important person might have their child going to the college that ends up playing her song on the station and say, who is that? And then she ends up being on some television show. Something's going to break like that, I believe.
The feeling that I hear over and over again, especially from new reactors, is why isn't she world famous? How come I've never heard of her before?
Yeah, that's a question we all ask almost every day. And I just think it's going to happen. But a little selfishly, I hope it doesn't happen too soon, because going to concerts in these 3, 4, 5, 800-seat venues and seeing her fairly close is wonderful. And I dread the day if she ever starts selling out stadiums and arenas. It just won't be as close and personal as the concerts are now.
Yeah. I actually have a new class that started this week. And I got an opportunity to mention that I was a YouTuber and told the story about why. And then I said, this artist I'm doing reaction videos to. And they said, which artist? And I said, I don't think you've heard of her. It's Angelina Jordan. And 2 of them actually had heard of her.
Wow.
So I was very surprised. And they're 18 to 25.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a pretty good percentage for, we're like 30 people in this class.
My ratio is like 2 out of 200. People that I've told about her that knew of her. Definitely a lot of the people that we interact with are in the older 50, 60, 70 age range. But I suspect, and I've seen some demographics of listeners on YouTube and other places that show she does have younger fans, but younger fans in their 30s and 40s and 20s even. are busy raising families. They're working full time, or they just can't afford to fly across the United States to go to a concert.
Yeah.
So I think we tend to see and interact with an older demographic just because of circumstances, not so much the only people that are listening to her.
In my work past month, I've been dealing with new people via Zoom who are from Norway. And I would say about half of them have heard of her because one is a 40-year-old former hip hop musician. And I mentioned her name. He said, yeah, it rings a bell. And the other person where she registered was, oh, yeah, she's the one who sings barefoot, isn't she?
Wow, great.
So different people have different memories of her and what they associate with her.
So all the things you've done, is there something where you went outside of your comfort zone a little bit?
There's been a few of those. I started practicing singing along with her Billie Holiday version of All of Me. And I'm not a musician or a singer, but I feel like I've got something of a sense of jazz timing. And so I started singing along to the song with Old Enough at Last. I practiced a couple hundred times in the car and I kept refining it and feeling like it was getting better. So I finally decided to record that. And unlike Angelina, who does 1 or 2 takes, it took me all those practice sessions over months. And then I think it was 11 takes on camera before I was sort of satisfied with it. And so then I put a video together where I'm singing sort of side by side with Angelina. And so I published that in early September of 2024, last year.
All of me. Why not take all of me? Can't you see? I'm no good without you. Take my lips. I want to lose them. Take my arms. I never use them.
And then a couple weeks later, we're at the September 20th concert in Los Angeles. And she does a duet with Scott Hoying, amazing, of course, of All of Me, but the John Legend All of Me. And so I saw her after the concert and I mentioned, hey, I beat Scott to the punch by a couple weeks. I did a virtual duet with you a couple weeks ago. And I was toward the end of the line of the meet and greet and she seemed just a little bit tired. And so I don't know how much that registered, but it was really cool to be able to just tell her about that.
So are you on the verge of giving up your day job and becoming a professional singer, Steve?
No, definitely not. Yeah, I'm going to keep the day job, but it definitely was fun working on that. And then the latest project, singing wise, was for her 18th birthday. I did another one of these things where I modified the lyrics of What a Wonderful World, but it was just before her birthday. So the only thing I had time to do was put together a video and I put the lyrics on the screen. So then this December, she comes out with Wonderful World.
Yeah.
Which is amazing, of course.
Yeah.
And something telling me like, wow, maybe I should do something for her 19th birthday with Wonderful World. The first line, of course, of Louis Armstrong is, I see trees of green. So in my modified version a year ago, I said, now you're turning 18. So in the back of my mind, all this past year is like, well, I could change that to now you're turning 19. So then I thought, well, now's the opportunity to sing it. So I knew of a few other angels who had made videos of themselves singing. So one was Joel Perot in France. One was Danilo Zakaria.
At last, love, don't let me go.
And then Diane Larrabee and her daughter. So I knew the two of them sang, but they hadn't sung on video with Angelina. So I asked all of them to take part in this, and they all agreed. And so we recorded ourselves separately. I made a guideline vocal like I did with Old Enough at Last, and then I put the video together. And then along with that, I love these projects where we get a bunch of other fans engaged. So I asked as many people as wanted to just record yourself saying happy birthday, Angelina. And so then I put together sort of two versions of this. One was the singing part, Wonderful World Modified Lyrics, the five of us up in the corners of the screen and singing.
Now we see you're 19.
Red roses for you.
We've seen you bloom.
And all that you do.
And we think to ourselves, what a wonderful world.
And then the second part was over 70 people wished Angelina a happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Angelina Jordan.
Happy birthday, Angelina.
Hartelijk gefeliciteerd, Angelina.
Happy birthday, Angelina.
Happy birthday, Angelina.
Happy birthday, Angelina.
Happy birthday, Angelina.
Feliz aniversario, Angelina.
Happy birthday, 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 Angelina.
Angelina, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Angelina.
Happy birthday, Angelina.
Happy birthday, Angelina.
Happy birthday, Queen Angelina. Bye.
Happy birthday, Angelina. Wish you all the success that you deserve.
Happy birthday, Angelina Jordan.
Happy birthday, Angelina.
Happy birthday, feliz cumpleaños, Angelina, and many more. Bye.
Tillykke, Angelina.
Happy birthday, Angelina.
Happy birthday, Angelina.
So there was something like 23 U.S. states, 21 countries, 9 languages. I really loved seeing her birthday wishes in other languages. And so then I posted that on her birthday, and I posted a version on TikTok of just the birthday greetings on her birthday. And she saw it and she reposted it. So I was able to tell everyone who was involved, Angelina saw you wishing her a happy birthday on her 19th birthday.
Steve, I just realized something, that for us, Angelina Jordan fans who are getting on, she represents our being able to revisit our childhood. We go back and we do things which we forgot to do when we were 12 and 15 years old, and just the pure fun of it.
I've called her a fountain of youth.
So, Steve, is there anything in the last 12 months that you've done that you wish you had done differently?
Not in particular. I know the first couple of times when I saw Angelina after a concert, I was so enthusiastic. And so I would talk to her about a couple of these things that I was working on. And then I ended up kicking myself because I said, the first thing I should have said was, what an awesome concert. Because, of course, in each case, the concerts are awesome. Yeah. And so that I really regretted in both cases. I think I would have learned my lesson. So the next time, that was the first thing I said. Other than that, no, I don't think I have any other regrets.
Good. Because Pontus and I were just talking about, it's so unusual that she only gives like 2 weeks notice before she's performing in a concert.
It's been like 4 to 6 weeks, but still, it's very short notice. Yeah, I have a feeling that's going to change at some point when she gets more into a rhythm of putting out albums and touring. I think that's coming.
I was watching some reaction videos today, as you do, and it occurred to me that the things she's done over the years, it's like a sign of she's rehearsing. She's trying out things. She's had an idea. Why don't I do How Great Thou Art in the same key as Elvis?
When I in awesome wonder consider all the worlds thy hands have made.
Oh Lord, my God, when I in awesome wonder.
And why don't I do this song like that? I think she's even said at some point, I think it was her version of the Chris Isaac song, Wicked Game. She said something about just having fun with it, trying it out. And she did this amazing version, of course.
The world was on fire, no one could save me but you. It's strange what desire will make foolish people do.
And I think maybe that is a way that we could all inspired from living life like that everything we do, we learn from it.
Yeah. Sure.
So just do things, and maybe it doesn't need to have the professionalism that other people are doing. So it gets better and better. And that is also something that is quite remarkable with her artistry, that she improves. When you think she no longer can do anything better, she comes along and does a version of a song that's even better.
Yeah.
How can that be?
It's a Man's World is a perfect example of that, right? Her 12-year-old version in concert was incredible. A YouTube short that has 34 million views of the saxophone looking aghast and amazed at what Angelina had just done on stage a few feet away from him.
Now you say you're alone. You cry the whole night through.
And then she goes and does it at the Christmas concert and just blew our socks off. That jazz background of just constant exploration and singing songs a different way every time.
I think being a jazz singer, you cannot say overlaps with being a perfectionist, because jazz is imperfect and it's improvised, and you can't say one jazz version is perfect, because that's just the nature of jazz. It changes all the time. It's like, oh, which moment of the sunset did you like the best? Because it's changing every few seconds.
She'll make the cover of a song almost always better than the original, or at least different and beautiful in her own way. And I saw that with It's a Man's World. I went back and looked for some live performances by James Brown, the original performer of that song, and ended up creating a sort of a mashup of Angelina's live performance, James Brown's live performance on the Ed Sullivan Show in the 60s at the peak of his career. And she stands up with James Brown side by side. It's just incredible.
Man in the car to carry us out of the wall. Man made the train to carry the heavy load. Man made the left light to take us out of the dark. Man made the boat by the water like Noah made the ark.
I have a question for the two of you, because I've been thinking, is Angelina at the age of 17 and 18, has she spread her wings more, where she more improvises and is more creative than she was, let's say, when she was 9 or 10? In other words, does she have the confidence, and has she grown and matured where she is just creative in a different way than she was when she was 9 or 10? Because maybe when she was 9 and 10, maybe she was following the covers a little bit more strictly than she does lately.
I think it Always Got Talent, the first two songs, she really channeled Billie Holiday for Gloomy Sunday and I'm a Fool to Want You. And then Bang Bang was different, and Summertime was different, somewhat inspired by Ella and Louis' version. But after that, I don't think she was channeling anybody, maybe occasionally Billie Holiday. And people say she sings Whitney Houston in a similar way that Whitney does, but still adding her own embellishments and beautiful floral character.
Yeah, and look at California Dreamin', what she did with that. How can you even imagine doing that kind of treatment? Because it seems so right when you think of the lyrics.
Sure. Suspicious Minds is like that too. Yeah, totally different than Elvis's rendition. Much more in keeping with the original intentions of the songwriters.
We're caught in a trap. I can't walk out because I love you too much, baby.
We're caught in a trap. I can't walk out because I love you too much, baby.
I don't know what I would give to have a peek inside her brain when she picks a song and what am I going to do with this one? What is that process like? Maybe it is so simple that she just knows it in her soul. I know how to do this song. We get a few hints of her working on songs like Feeling Good, because there are quite a few clips where she's sitting at the piano, trying out different stuff. And then at 10, she comes up with this version that is just amazing.
And
And to answer Alan's question about her creativity, I think that's continuing. And a perfect example for me is the song Thank You. She co-wrote that with Toby. We saw a reggae-based version of it in September, which was incredible. And then in December, a few months later, she performs this stripped-down version with just Toby on piano. That's amazing.
what you make me do, throw all your clothes right out the window.
People say she's the only person who can cover herself and improve on what she had done before and come up with something. Same with Bad Valentine. The pop version is such a catchy, wonderful tune. And then the jazzy one comes out and it's amazing.
I've seen jazz singers who are performing where they're hooked up to a monitor to measure their brain waves. One day when Angelina Jordan is world famous and she's in that situation, I think she may break the machine.
I love this phrase. Someone said, every note is a song. Like every note she sings is a song in itself.
It's funny you should say that, Steve, because I recorded a video today, which I'm publishing in 10 days' time. And I said something which I didn't realize until I actually said it. When she did Summertime on NGT and she sings the word daddy, that one note completely made me a fan.
Oh, yeah.
You can't say that about anyone else in a situation like that.
Yeah, there's some special moments like that, or some of her performances that are just unforgettable.
And it can be very subtle things that you notice after a few listens. For instance, on her EP, Old Enough, there are some songs where she has recorded backtracking that is way down in volume, back of her singing. And there are some really interesting details there and emotions coming from that track that is just amazing.
That seems to be the case, is very often the background vocals are her. Right? On a bunch of her studio recordings recently, that's been the case. And so she can back herself up.
Well, Steve, I can certainly imagine a situation where we will have you back again in another 12 months, and you'll have a list of 20 different adventures that you've embarked on with your newfound sense of creativity.
I can imagine that too. I love to be back, and I'm going to keep on going. This is just too much fun. It's such a joy to be involved in these many different projects. And again, it's just as much about the community and interacting with wonderful folks like you and others as anything else that has just filled my life.
Because when I'm thinking about making a video, I say I go to the well and I expect the well to be dry, but I always come up with a bucket of water in the form of another video. But one day the well will go a bit dry.
I don't see that day coming anytime soon for anything involving Angelina.
Well, Steve, thanks again, and we will see you on the circuit, and I may just fly over the Atlantic one day soon and meet and greet you and everyone else.
That'd be great. We actually had a meeting of the Angels of the Hudson Valley about a year ago, and I think it's time to do that again, especially there's no concerts on the horizon.
Yeah.
So
I heard about that beforehand.
Well, maybe if I give you enough notice, you can make it over for the next Angels of the Hudson Valley meeting.
It's not out of the question.
Okay, we'll start planning something.